Hello, welcome to the Man to Man podcast. From personal truth, shared struggle, and steps towards hope. Now, after doing the initial intro, episode 0, or however we want to look at it, I outlined why I'm doing this. So, I think for the first real episode, I think it's important to look at things that I'm struggling with. Come to face with it a little bit. Verbalise it and talk about it openly. And then provide because here's the thing with these, I will be opening up about things that I'm struggling with. But I'm also, with the hope and the pep talks and the things like that, I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to give myself a kick up the arse. I'm trying to, while talking about it openly and having that accountability there, I'm essentially acting like a big brother to myself and giving me a boot, a well-needed boot up the backside. So these episodes are going to be things that I'm struggling with, things that I'm concerned with, things that I'm dealing with, struggles, situations, problems that I'm facing. And then I'm going to try and format them so they end on a positive or they end on a self-talk of hope, I guess. So the topic I want to talk about is what I've called it is I can't get out of bed, and that's where I'll start. And I think it's fitting considering today I got out of bed at 11 o'clock. Went to bed about 11 o'clock the night before. So that's 12 hours sleep. Now, while there is an element in there that I definitely needed it, I've not been sleeping well and whatnot, there is a pattern with which has emerged. I'd like to say recently, but it's been going on for quite some time. Well over a year. And it's that you wake up before your eyes even open. And there's dread, there's fear. There's, what's the point? I know that I'm not the only one that faces that. This isn't a woe is me situation. This is just me trying to understand it and deal with it a lot better. Trying to make some progress with it. Trying to make it so that I'm not having to deal with that on a daily basis. And that's one of the... Because here's the thing, right? I've dealt with this before, and then I've got over it. But for whatever reason, I've ended up back in that situation. So that is the topic of this podcast, this episode. Struggling to get out of bed. This isn't scripted. I've kind of made notes of a format I kind of want to follow. But in terms of talking, there's no script there. I'm going to be as open and honest and as raw as I can. And I know that there's other people out there that have struggled with this, like I say. Struggled to get out of bed. Now, this is my message to you, but it's also a message to me, really. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're just human, and you're dealing with some shit that you need help with. So what does it feel like to get out? What does it feel like in the mornings, really? Now I'm looking at my format of how I'm going to talk about this, and one of the questions I've asked myself is, what does it feel like in the mornings? It depends, really. Sometimes everything just feels so fucking heavy. There's an element of dread. And once you start that cycle, like I say, it starts before you've even opened your eyes, and before the eyes have opened, that initial thoughts come into play, and then this numbness kicks in. It's just a dark cloud that you kind of, by opening your eyes, you have to face that. Then you have to face the actual getting up bit and fight that battle. There's been times when I've laid there for hours. There's been times when you just get up and just get cracking. But that shame, that doubt, that fear is still there. You feel lazy. You feel like you're failing everyone. You feel embarrassed more than anything. Well, not more than anything, but it's definitely one of the grounding factors, I guess, that takes over your mind, your thoughts, the repetitive. It's like repetitive attacks, self-attack, I don't know, however you want to call it, really, but it's just that verbalizing or verbally attacking yourself, verbally doubting yourself. Now, I say verbally, I mean that just with the thoughts, because they are your thoughts. They are you speaking. They're speaking to yourself, just not using your mouth. So you're attacking yourself, and you're doubting yourself, and then it ends up as a spiral before you've even got out of bed. You have that dialogue of, come on, get up. There's no point. What's the use? What's the point? There's a fear of the day ahead, a fear of not being able to, not being able to achieve what you aim to achieve, not being able to do what you want to do. There might be some doubt there. It's always led by fear. There's always doubt there. There's always shame, I guess. Maybe you, like I, has felt that before. Maybe you felt it today. Maybe. But then when it does, often when here's the thing with me. So say, for example, I get up on time. That sets sometimes a good day because you've started well. But then when you hit snooze for a bit, or when you go past the snooze point, even when the snooze button's given up and the alarm starts going off for the 5th time, you just lay there. You lay there worrying. You lay there with your phone in your hand, scrolling, shite, making your head even worse. Now, whether it's an hour, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's however long, as soon as that alarm goes off and you don't get up, when you feel that when you struggle mentally anyway, already you've hit that. Already you've given, in some sense, you've already given yourself proof, or you've proved to yourself that you're a failure. Because you can't even get out of bed in the morning. How are you supposed to achieve anything? How are you supposed to provide for your family? Or how are you supposed to hit all these goals? How are you supposed to become this version of yourself that you keep promising, you keep hoping for, when you can't even get out of bed? I guess it's good to zoom out a little bit. Look at this man to man, I guess. If you are facing this, if you are in this situation, if this is something that you are dealing with, first up, you're not alone. It's not just you going through it. It's not just... There are other men out there feeling like this. Now, the amount of times I've heard someone say that on a video and not felt any connection with it because that's them, that's this me. I get that, I understand that. Because some randomer on the internet telling you that you're not alone is difficult to hear, because you do feel like you're alone. You do feel like it's you, just you dealing with it. But I'm dealing with it too. I've felt that. I know exactly what it's like. When you feel like giving up, when you feel like the world is just swallowing you, and there's no light at the end of that tunnel. Despite having all these things going for you, people, you're still struggling. You're still proving to yourself in some way that you're not the man that you thought you would be. And that is brutal. When you feel like that, when you're at depression's drowning you, comes across as various things. It might be fatigue, might see a lack of motivation, might be anger, frustration, withdrawal, sadness, that incessant self-talk that cuts in a way, not only because it's yourself, not only because it comes from yourself, but it makes a lasting effect, because that is constant. That doubt is constant. That kicking in the bollocks, proverbially, day in, day out, not even just every day, nearly most of the day, most moments of the day. It fucking drains on you. Now, I know first-time men are less likely to seek help or talk about it. It makes you feel like you're the only one struggling with it. Now, whilst men do need to be strong, I know that there is strength in opening up as well. And that's not being woe is me mentality. Because I've been in men's groups before where initially I've got loads of benefit out of it. And then after a while, I noticed the same people using it as an identity, I guess. And it pissed me off. Not only did it piss me off because you knew it, and it's not manly at all. But then I also seen some of that in myself. You become attached to these problems in your head. Which makes you loathe yourself even more, I guess. And it's a spiral that's just incessant. Which makes the rest... It makes you feel like even more of a failure. And because you build this identity of yourself, there's no... Removing that identity or destroying that identity becomes even more difficult. And then with the idea that masculinity is being tied to productivity, fuels that shame when you can't perform, when you're not being this version of yourself that you want to be, you desire. That just adds to the shame even more, because you know what it is you want. You know how you want to be as a man. Yet, you fail to live up to that version. There's a duel going on inside your head. And that duel often, sometimes at least, kills men. If it doesn't kill them, it provides a lifetime of misery for some. But there is hope. There can be change. You can do this. You can become a different version of yourself. Heck, you wasn't always this version, was you? This is not something you've been all your life. You're forever moulding yourself. Now you can mould yourself into a worse version, or you can mould yourself into a better version. Some of us just feel the physical heaviness, and that's why we struggle to get up in the morning. Now that might be cortisol spikes, that might be low serotonin, that might be low testosterone, many things. But many of us men, many of us dads, carry invisible loads. Now that could be financial, emotional, internal. They just drain you over time. Now this getting out of bed business isn't about laziness. It's about an overload in your mind. Pressure that's put on you from life. Pressures that you put on yourself that you don't need to. Or pressures where you're not living up to your potential, or you are not this full version of yourself. Something's missing. Something's not right. Some situations or traumas have not been dealt with. Pain. Only you'll know that. Why it is you can't get up in the morning. But let's kind of reframe it a little bit. Start moving forward towards hope and growth. Now, if you struggle to get out of bed, getting out of bed is not a small win. It can be massive. You need to be aware of that, and you need to understand that. If you are in a situation where you just can't get out of bed for whatever reason, progress is progress. Take the wins. Something that I'm realising is take the wins no matter how big or small they are. This is the journey that I'm going on where a lot of things need to change. Physically, mentally. My whole outlook on what I see as ideal. How I view each day. Because I don't view those little wins as wins. But they are. Tiny little steps of progress. Progress isn't measured by how early you rise, but whether you get up at all, despite the battle from within. That shame is not yours to carry. It's been passed down for whatever reason. It might have been passed down from you. It might have been passed down from others. Open your eyes, sit up, start from there. That in itself is enough to build from. Progress is progress. Learn to have pride in those little steps of moving forward. Because I guess those compound over time. Now, I'm not here to suggest solutions or give you solutions. Fucking hell, I'm struggling with myself. So I'm here to kind of give myself suggestions, and then anyone else that's listening. Start small. The days that don't work out as planned are the days where I plan the world. And I say to myself, unknowingly, I guess, but the night before I'll say, right, I'll do a small to-do list. And before I know it, there's 50 things on there. And then before I've even woken up or opened my eyes, of course there's overwhelm there. Because it's okay to have a lot of things on your to-do list. As long as you are in a cycle whereby you are constantly doing that amount of work day in, day out. We're all at different levels. So whilst it's good to push yourself, it's finding that balance. So whereby you're pushing yourself just that tiny little bit more, whereby it is achievable for where you're at. It is progress. But it's not an amount whereby you look at it and think, fucking hell, I couldn't even do that in a year, let alone a day. So let's say you are struggling to get up. Don't fucking plan a fuck ton. Plan just a little bit. Start small. If you can't get out of bed at all, start small. Maybe leave a bottle of water by the end of your bed. Drink it first thing. Get hydrated. Maybe, I don't know, put a post-it note up somewhere. Just sit up. Write on it. Just sit up. That's enough. One thing. Get out. Stretch your legs. I don't know. Verbalise how fucking difficult it is. Now, I know that's difficult when you've got family there or whatnot, because you end up walking around the house like a fucking retard. Some weirdo just mumbling to yourself. But speak it. That's the whole reason I started this. Because I can speak it. Get it out. Not have it internalized and pinging round my head like a pinball. There's power in externalizing things. There's power in speaking things. They're released. They are sorted. They're ordered when you speak it. So start small if you are struggling. And just build that momentum. I hate the phrase Rome wasn't built in a day. But there's some truth in that. I think it's important to have a vision long term. But you have to build up to that. You can't be on your arse and then expect to own the world the next day. Own your world bit by bit by bit, piece by piece. Build those habits, build that momentum. Take a deep breath, step by step, one step at a time. Don't beat yourself up. And I know the amount of times I've heard that. Don't beat yourself up. And I'm trying not to do that myself. But I know there's some truth in that. Any start is a start. Any bit of progress is progress. Momentum builds, but it has to start somewhere. And that is as small as it needs to be. Where you create a day that you can just be proud of that. You're not broken. You're just overloaded. You're not lazy. You're just hurting. You're not lost. You just need a bit of guidance. Everyone's canvas is blank. You can work towards any sort of life that you want. But you do it bit by bit. Day by day. Learning to take pride in that. Little steps of progress. One small win at a time. If you're in bed and you're sat in bed and you're listening to this, just sit up. Come on. Sit up. Count to 3. Take a deep breath. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Fucking swear like mad if you need to. 1, 2, 3. Fuck you. Get up. Keep walking this road, fella. One step at a time. You've got this.